So my first 30 days of filming didn't quite go how I thought it was going to at all. Obviously, I knew that there was going to be some challenges along the way, but I naively thought that once I had the camera and had all my gear, it was going to be pretty easy to get started. How hard can it be, right? You get your camera, you learn how it works, you find something interesting to film, and you press record. Simple. But yeah, that was shut down pretty quickly once I started to actually go out and film. And yeah, so just looking back over the last 30 days, there are a few things that have really stood out to me, and they're things that are quite common, but some things I didn't really expect to be as much of an issue as what they have become. And so if you've just picked up your first camera, or maybe you've started your filming journey as well, hopefully today the things I go through here can give you a little bit of an understanding of what you might expect to deal with, because it is all kinds of fun. Okay, let's have a look, shall we? Firstly, I really struggled with being able to get what was in my mind, onto the camera as film. Before I got all my gear, I was so excited to capture and get all these things that I'd had floating and swimming through my mind, things I'd seen on YouTube. I'd had all these things that I wanted to go out and film, really clear ideas. But once I got the gear, once I had the lenses on the camera, I really struggled. Really struggled to be able to find the right composition, to find the right lighting dynamic, to make sure I was exposed in the right way. There were so many things I naively went into because of my experience in landscape photography. For some reason, I thought that was just going to translate straight over into being able to do good film. And, it wasn't like I was terrible straight off the bat, because I did have an understanding of a few basic concepts. But putting that into a dynamic movement and not just standing there taking a photo, man, I found that really, really tricky. So being able to convey what's going on in here and put it through the camera so a viewer is able to understand what you're trying to convey, that is probably the hardest thing you're going to come up against. And that's the first thing that I want to bring up, because conveying your message is everything. So over the past 30 days, I've really been able to develop a bit more of an intuition of when I see something in my mind, I get to kind of see how I would have to be with the camera, or what type of lens I would have to be shooting with, or where I would be standing in that scene to get that shot. It does become easier. It's only been 30 days, but when I first started, I'm going to say, I was kind of trash. But trial and error, you'll get better. Okay, so the second thing that I really did struggle with was the technicalities of the camera. For those of you that have seen my video breakdown of my very first time filming, you will remember how I was struggling with going between the different modes. And quite often, this still happens over the last 30 days, but I've been shooting something in slow motion and I've left it on that setting when I've gone over somewhere else and didn't realize that I'm shooting in slow motion until I look back at the footage when I get home. So that's been quite annoying, trying to stay on top of where you are in the camera. Even things like your zebra levels or your histograms, just getting to understand the functions of those things and why they exist on the camera, and then learning how to apply it in the right way at the right time in the circumstance that you're in. So for me, a big one was the zebras, especially while I'm walking around vlogging. I've been practicing a little bit of that lately. And I've really found that using the zebras to acknowledge where I'm going to be clipping my highlights to be fantastic for vlogging. But if I'm sitting in a situation like this, I'm not so much worried about that. I want my skin tones to be in a good light. So learning to use a zebra function has been a huge help for me. It just makes it much easier to get the camera out, get a very rough basic guide of what you need, where you need to be, and start filming and go from there. But the thing that's probably helped me the most in terms of technicalities with the camera was to set up some custom function buttons through the menu system. So what I've done is put it up at the front button up the top here. The reason that I've got this button set up for this is because whether I'm in front of the camera or behind the camera, I'm able to push that button and I know that I'm turning the zebra function on or off easily with that. I just know what it's set on. If I need it set to clip the highlights, I'll just quickly go into the menu and set it to 90, 95. If I want it for my skin tones and I'm shooting in S-Log, I've been playing around that between 55 and 66, 67. And I found that to be the best for me. But everyone seems to have their own opinion on that and what they think is best. So yes, a very big piece of advice would be learn the functions of the camera, learn how to set the camera up that's going to aid you and going to make you more efficient out in the field. So when you're holding your camera, you know exactly where everything is. And if something happens and something's changing and something needs to be done fast, boom, you're there, It's never going to be as much of a hassle once you've got an understanding of how your camera actually works and what its setup is like. Okay, yeah, so this one kind of touches on the first point a little bit, but learning to see the world a little bit differently. Now that I've got my camera, instead of just looking at things when I'm driving or when I'm watching a TV show or a movie or whatever it is, what would I need to do in order to be able to capture this moment of how it's speaking to me right now? And it really does change your perspective of how you see filming. As I mentioned, I thought I had a really clear understanding of how I needed to be when I was shooting, where I needed to stand, what it would look like, blah, 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 blah. But I was shown to be wrong. And because of that, it's forced me to look at how I would move as something was being filmed. If I was standing out here right now and I wanted to shoot that tree, well, film that tree. How would I represent this tree? What would I do? Where would I stand? How would I get this tree to be represented in this footage? Would it be a static shot? Would I be moving? What would I be doing to explain this tree? Maybe not my best example, but you get me. When you're watching movies and TV shows, don't just sit and arbitrarily watch. Sit and wonder how the hell they got that shot. Where is their key light coming from? Where is it motivated? Why is this shot happening like this? What length of lens are they using? These things are very, very, very helpful to get you started, because you can't just walk up with your camera and start getting good footage. It just don't work like that. And so over the past 30 days, that has been a huge benefit to me in just being able to look at the world a little bit differently, because again, convey what's going on in your mind onto the camera is everything. It's everything. And next up is something I know many people will struggle with, and this is color grading. Now, if you're shooting in any kind of log format, you will know my pain as a beginner. This is not easy. In fact, I think this is probably the hardest part of trying to get cinematic footage, because you see some really, really good stuff here on YouTube. Like, some of the things really blow me away. And in some ways, it really encourages me. And in other ways, I'll look at it and I'm just like, man, I am never going to be able to do that. I have no idea how I'm supposed to make my shit look like that. And once you start on that log journey with that delicious 10-bit color and all this stuff, it seems like it's going to be such a dream. But once you get into it, you put everything here on your computer and you start trying to muck around with it. And you're like, it never comes out how you think it's going to. You know, I started with DaVinci Resolve, and to be completely honest, it probably took me 5 hours before I really understood what I was supposed to be doing with my footage. It was hard. And if you're a beginner trying to start out with something like DaVinci Resolve or Final Cut Pro or whatever it is, you are going to come across this problem. I have purchased a few LUTs and they do help. However, in my experience so far, nothing beats learning how to do the fundamentals and just tweaking those things here and there. Because my first attempt at it, if you guys have seen, it was pretty atrocious. But my second, third, fourth time, just mucking around, trying different things, learning how things should look. It's not going to be easy, but it is doable. I just don't think that there's any shortcut to this. I just think it's about being patient with yourself and being prepared to put in a little bit of extra time on the grading side, more than what you thought, as opposed to the filming, because that was something I kind of wasn't as prepared for as I thought. This one has been an interesting one, because I'm not typically someone who's shy, but once you're out and walking around with a camera and it's clearly obvious that you're talking to it, or you're filming yourself sitting there eating or getting out of the car or opening your boot or doing something really random, you've got a camera in front of you. Clearly this guy's out filming himself, you know, and you kind of putting yourself out there just because you've got the gear. And yeah, you know, I thought it was going to be a little bit easier than what it was, but it's not. Whether I'm vlogging or whether I'm just literally taking footage of myself sitting in the car somewhere, you are going to have people watching, most likely. And the first few times I did it, yeah, it was a bit uncomfortable, especially when you're walking around trying to get these shots. I mean, you know, footage can look so good, but you know, when you see the dude behind the camera and you're like, what the hell is that guy doing? Well, you know, sometimes to get the shot, you have to be in some pretty weird positions, or you have to be moving in some pretty weird ways. And yeah, that's something over the past 30 days that I have had to overcome. And I'm not sure if I'm 100% there yet. I don't know if people fully ever get 100% there, but it's something to keep in mind. You may feel like you're comfortable and confident enough to go out and start doing these things. But again, once you get the gear, once you're in the position, once you have that situation in front of you, sometimes it's a lot harder than what you thought it was going to be. and it kind of just slaps you in the face with a little bit of reality. And lastly, this is something that I touched on in my previous video, shooting paralysis. How many times have you thought, man, I can't wait to go out and shoot. Tonight I'm going to go out and do this, or when I get home from work, I'm going to do this, or I can't wait for this to happen. And as soon as the moment gets there and you're presented with the opportunity, you're like, nah, I don't know. I don't know if I can get that. I don't know. What would I even shoot? Where would I go? What would I even do? What story am I going to tell tonight? Who cares? Just go out and try and film something. See, this is something I'm still struggling with 30 days in. It's not like I've overcome this, but I think it's definitely worth mentioning, and it gets to me sometimes. It's like I get paralyzed being able to do it because I don't feel like I'm going to be good enough at it, or I'm not going to be able to capture the footage that I want to get, or I'm not going to be able to grade it as good as I wanted to be able to grade it. And I want to put things up here on YouTube, and I want to be getting better at a faster rate. And I want this, and I want this, and I want this. And it just starts to honestly paralyze me. And I'm sure that there's other people out there that are in this situation. You have the gear. Maybe you've just started. Maybe you bought something 5 years ago, 2 years ago, and it's just sitting in your cupboard or sitting in your shed somewhere because it was a little bit too hard, or it was a little bit, it wasn't really what you thought it was going to be. I would encourage you that the next time you have that thought to go and film or go and shoot something or whatever it is that you're into, just go and do it. Whether you think it's a good time to do it or not, whether the lighting's good, whether the subjects are good, whether you got a clean pair of underwear on or not, who cares? Just go out and start doing it. Start learning things, start teaching yourself how to be more creative, be better, and start ditching the paralysis side. I'm really speaking to myself here, aren't I? But it's an important point to make. Too often, I've not gone and captured anything because of that paralysis. So hopefully, this kind of helps you stop doing the crap that I've been doing. Okay, so all in all, what I've learned over the last 30 days is it's not about the camera you've got. It's not about how good your lenses are. It's not about how amazing your tripod is. It's about how comfortable and how confident you can be within yourself to capture what you see in here and be able to translate it into film in a way that people can feel what you're trying to convey. As I've said before, this is everything. However, when these points get in the way, we need to be able to have the confidence within ourselves to be able to push past that because we're comfortable with our gear, and we're comfortable about being out in front of public, and we're comfortable about being able to color grade our footage and put it up to share for people to be able to view and experience. These things can be all very daunting and very challenging to do and get through and be good at, but you're not going to get good at them by not doing it at all. Well, I think I've said enough. And overheating sign is coming on. Sweet. That is the first time at least. All right, I'm off. Catch you guys later.